Hello. In this class, we will discuss one more problem in time-independent perturbation theory in non-degenerate case. I am going to discuss a perturbing potential proportional to x, position x, applied to a linear harmonic oscillator. Okay. So this is the problem. Perturbing potential in x to a linear harmonic oscillator. We have already discussed in previous classes, we have already discussed perturbing potential of the type x square to a linear harmonic oscillator. We found that that's an exactly solvable problem. We also did it using perturbation theory. We found first order correction, second order correction also, and we found that this exact result matches with the results obtained from perturbation theory. Then we also discussed perturbing potential of the type x raised to 4, quartic type, x raised to 4 type perturbing potential for linear harmonic oscillator. Now today we will discuss perturbing potential in x to linear harmonic oscillator. Now when the perturbing potential is proportional to x, okay, it means that we know force is negative gradient of potential, right? So if the let us say V prime, where V prime is the perturbing potential. Now if V prime is proportional to x, okay, then the force is equal to derivative of this with respect to x, that is magnitude of force is a constant, right? Magnitude of the force is a constant. So perturbing potential is proportional to x means it is equivalent to saying that we are applying a constant force to the linear harmonic oscillator. This constant force can be anything, any force. You can think about a charged particle oscillating in a linear harmonic oscillator potential, a charged particle undergoing linear harmonic oscillations, and we are applying a constant electric field. Okay, then it will produce a constant force. That is an example. Or we can think about a particle of mass m undergoing oscillations, and we are applying a gravitational field, okay, a constant a uniform gravitational field as a gravitational field near the surface of the earth. So then also the potential will be proportional to x. Force is uniform. So it can be electric force, it can be gravitational force, it can be any constant force. Then perturbing potential is proportional to x. So we are going to consider one such problem. So consider, let us consider a charged particle of charge q, okay, in a harmonic oscillator potential, or it is oscillating. Then we apply a constant electric field along the x-axis, okay. So I apply, this is the coordinate, and I apply a constant electric field along the x direction, a uniform electric field along the x direction, right? Then it will, this is an extra force, so that means there will be an additional perturbing potential which is proportional to x. So we will see, let us see what is the effect on the particle, okay, on this oscillating particle. So yeah, so before we solve this problem, let us try to intuitively obtain what will happen to this one. So initially the particle is oscillating like this, okay, this is the system. Let us say we are plotting the potential energy. So particle is oscillating here with 0 as the mean position. It has a positive charge q, okay. Now when you apply an electric field, this electric field will exert a force along the, electric field is along the plus x direction, so it will exert a force along the plus x direction. So there is a force Q into E along this direction. So what do we expect about this particle? So what we expect is that this particle will be, this oscillating particle will be pushed to the right side. So we can expect a shift in the mean position of the particle. What is the direction of the shift? Whatever be the direction of the electric field. So this is what we get from a physical argument. Let us see what we are going to get from the equations. Now, when you apply an electric field along the plus x direction, okay, what is the potential acting on the particle? We know that again the force due to the electric field QE is equal to that is equal to minus dV by dx. X cap. Let me say I cap, where I cap is the unit vector along the x direction. So what is the potential here? Right. So what you get is so dV is equal to, or let us multiply both sides with let us take dot product with respect to x. So we have QE dot dx is equal to dV by dx I cap dot dx. Okay. So I dot dx is simply dx. So what you have is minus dV by dx into dx. Okay. So dy by dx into dx will be a change delta y, a change in the dependent variable, right? So what you get here is minus delta v or minus dv, a differential of v, a small change in v. Okay. So in order to get the potential, this is a uniform electric field. So the potential is minus QE. E dot dx, since E and dx are in the same direction, this we can write as E dx. Okay. So in order to get the potential along a distance by a displacement x, we have to integrate this. Okay. When you integrate, Q and E are constant that you can take outside. So finally what you get is minus QEx. So if the electric field is along the plus x direction, potential will be minus QEx. The negative sign shows that the electric field is along the direction of decrease of potential. Okay. Now if the electric field were along the minus x direction, potential will be plus QEx. Okay. So let me write the, so this problem, before attempting to solve this problem using perturbation theory, let us first write down the Hamiltonian. Okay. So Hamiltonian operator of linear harmonic oscillator is kinetic energy operator plus potential energy half kx square or half m omega square x square, where m is the mass of the oscillating particle. And this is the Hamiltonian of the x is also an operator. Okay. This is the Hamiltonian of the unperturbed oscillator, right? When you apply this perturbation, let me use the notation V prime. Okay. When you apply the perturbation, what you get is minus QEx, an additional perturbation. Okay. So let me just okay, so this is the perturbing potential, right? V prime is equal to minus QEx. We can find out the first order correction, we can find out the second order correction using perturbation theory. Now before going to that, I am going to rewrite this Hamiltonian this way. Suppose I take this half m omega square outside from this term and this term, okay, commonly. So you can write this as p square by 2m plus half m omega square, and this term will be x square minus QE by 2 will go to the numerator, m omega square x, right? Now immediately we can see that this term you can try to write as a perfect square. If you write this as a perfect square, then you get back the equation of Hamiltonian of harmonic oscillator. Okay, so let us try to write this as a perfect square. Okay, and let us see what happens. I will remove this part. So this is equal to so how do we write this as a perfect square? X square, this is 2ab term, right? Okay, this is 2ab term. So A is x, okay, B is QE by m omega square. There is a 2 also. So take this QE by m omega square, add the square and subtract the square. Okay, so we have plus square of the half of the coefficient of x, that is q square e square divided by m square omega raised to 4, right? Then you have to subtract also. So I will put that minus term, minus q square e square m square omega raised to 4. Correct. So that's equal to p square by 2m plus half m omega square. Take the first three terms. You can combine them into a perfect square. X minus QE by m omega square whole square, correct? Okay, this is in the form of a minus b whole square. This is the b term. Okay, so we have written this part as a perfect square, and there is an extra term. Okay, what is this extra term? You have to multiply with this. Okay, we have minus. When you multiply, m omega square will cancel here, and there is a 2. So we have q square e square divided by 2. 1 m will cancel, and 1 omega square also will cancel. So this is it. So this is the new Hamiltonian. I mean the same Hamiltonian I have rewritten like this. Okay. Now look at this. What is this? This is the the Hamiltonian of a linear harmonic oscillator with look at this. This is the Hamiltonian of a harmonic oscillator. This part, if there is only this term, half omega square x square is there, it's a harmonic oscillator with the mean position at x equal to 0. Now here, this is of the form x minus x0 square, right? So this is a harmonic oscillator with mean position at this is of the form x minus x0. What is this x0? QE by m omega square. Okay, so the one effect of applying a perturbing potential proportional to x or applying a constant force is a shift in the mean position of the harmonic oscillator. This we have expected from the physical argument. So the shift is this much. Remember, QE is the force, so it is like F by m omega square. So this is true for any constant force. Only thing is that we have used electric force here, that's all. So instead of QE, it can be mg if it is gravitational force. It can be F, where F is some constant force. So the mean position is shifted by the amount this much, and you can see that the shift in the mean position depends upon the direction of the electric field. Here the electric field is along plus x direction, so the shift x0 will be along the plus x direction. If electric field is minus, then the shift will be x0 will be negative. Okay, so we will get an x plus x0 square here. In other words, x minus x0 square. x0 will be negative. Shift will be towards minus x direction. So the direction of the shift depends upon the direction of the electric field. That is one effect. Now the second effect is this. The total energy is decreased by this much. There is a decrease. Okay, and you can also see that this decrease in total energy is independent of the direction of the electric field. Whether the electric field is along the plus x direction or minus x direction, here we have E square. Okay, so this is independent of the direction of the electric field. Always there will be a decrease in energy. So these are the two effects when you apply a constant force on a linear harmonic oscillator or a perturbing potential of proportional to x on a linear harmonic oscillator, the mean position will be shifted either along plus x or minus x direction depending upon the direction of the force, and secondly energy will be decreased by this much amount. Okay, you can see that this amount is equivalent to half m omega square x0 square. Okay, so this decrease in energy corresponds to the potential, the value of this decrease in energy corresponds to the potential energy for the shift corresponding to the shift. Okay, you can see that this shift is nothing but this delta E is equal to and the magnitude is equal to I can write this as for example, if you take a half m omega square outside, okay, already we have done this, this half m omega square is here, right? So what is remaining? We have this term, right? So this I can write as QE by m omega square the whole square, half m omega square into this one, that is this term. Now this is nothing but half m omega square x0 square. Okay, so this decrease in total energy is equal to the potential energy corresponding to the shift in the mean position. Okay, that much decrease is there in the potential energy. So we can see that this is simply a harmonic oscillator. Again, a harmonic oscillator with a shifted mean position and a shifted energy levels. So this is an exactly solvable problem, right? The angular frequency of oscillation has not changed. It's same as omega. There is no change in the angular frequency. So what are the effects here? The effects are angular frequency remains the same. The only effect is that my question is what are the effects in the energy values? The only change in the energy values are decreased by a constant term. Okay, these are constant. This is a constant force. Q, E are constant. M is constant. Angular frequency is also constant. So total energy values are decreased by a constant term. What is the separation between adjacent levels? The separation between adjacent levels in an unperturbed harmonic oscillator is h cross omega, right? They are equally spaced with separation h cross omega. It is same for this perturbed oscillator also. Separation between adjacent levels are same. Only thing is that energy levels are decreased. All the energy levels are decreased by a constant amount. So separation between adjacent levels remains the same. So it's an exactly solvable problem. Okay. Now let us see. Do we get the same result using perturbation theory? Okay. So we are going to apply perturbation theory. So just like x square perturbing potential proportional to x square, that was also an exactly solvable problem. Perturbing potential proportional to x is also an exactly solvable problem. In these two cases, even after the perturbation, we get a linear harmonic oscillator. In this case, we get a linear harmonic oscillator with a shifted origin and decreased energies. In the case of x square potentials, we get the same linear harmonic oscillator. Okay. There the shifty depends upon some parameter, the coefficient of x square. If it is positive, shift will be energy values will increase, right? That was the situation. If the epsilon is negative, that coefficient is negative, shift will be downward. Okay. But the separation between levels were the same. There is no change in that. Okay. Okay. So now we are going to do. We are going to see what is the result using time independent perturbation theory. Let us see. So what is the perturbing potential here? Minus QE x. So the first order correction is ket n v prime ket n, right? That is ket n minus QE x ket n. Minus QE is a constant, I can take it outside. So this is basically expectation value of x. Now, this factor for the unperturbed harmonic oscillator, expectation value of x is always 0. Okay. Why this is so? We can argue it in many ways. One is that this is, if we write this in terms of coordinate representation, this is an integral, right? This integral is of this form, integral phi n star x phi n x dx integrated from minus infinity to plus infinity. These are nth energy state, nth state of the nth eigenstate of the linear harmonic oscillator, unperturbed harmonic oscillator. Now, in the case of harmonic oscillator levels, every state has a definite parity. Okay, and the parity of the nth state will be minus 1 all raised to n. Okay, that means if n is equal to 0, it has even parity, ground state. N is equal to 1, odd parity, because this nth state can be, these states are proportional to Hermite polynomials. The expression for the wave functions are proportional to Hermite polynomials, and nth state will be an nth order Hermite polynomial, right? An nth order Hermite polynomial will be having only let us say nth order polynomial will be having powers of n only. Okay, that means either even powers, even powers or odd powers, right? If n is odd, the polynomial will be containing odd powers. If n is even, the polynomial will be containing even powers. Okay, for example, n is equal to 3, the polynomial, the Hermite polynomial will be containing x raised to 3 x terms only. N is equal to 4, then x raised to 4 and x raised to 2 terms only, even powers only. So that means if n is even, it's these polynomials will be having even parity. If n is odd, these polynomials will be having odd parity. So my point is that this is having either, whether n is even or odd, this is having either even parity or odd parity. It has a definite parity. So phi n star phi n star is even, phi n is also even. So phi n star phi n will be having even parity. Then what is remaining in this here is x. X has odd parity, it's an odd function. So an odd function integrated between symmetric limits will always give you 0. Okay. On the other hand, if n has odd parity, this has odd parity, this also has odd parity. Two odd parity functions, if you multiply, you get even parity. Okay. So again, phi n star phi n has even parity. What is remaining here is an odd function. Result is 0. So using this coordinate representation, you can argue that this matrix element will always be 0. This is one way. And another way of arguing is that you can write x in terms of creation and annihilation operators. Okay, the expression is this is h cross by 2m omega a dagger plus a, right? So this expression will be like which means that n x n will be, apart from this constant, okay, this will be like n a dagger plus a n. Okay, so this you can split as n a dagger n plus n a n. Now a dagger acting on n will go to the state n plus 1. So bra vector will be ket, this will be bra vector n, and you have ket vector n plus 1. These states are mutually orthogonal, so this inner product will give you 0. Here A acting on n will it will bring the system to ket n minus 1. Your vector is n, ket vector will be n minus 1. Again they are mutually orthogonal. Okay, all these are eigenstates of Hamiltonian. Since Hamiltonian is a Hermitian operator, all these eigenstates are mutually orthogonal. So this inner product and this inner product will give you 0. So this result will be 0. That is another way of arguing. So this expectation value of x in the unperturbed state will be 0. So what is the conclusion? The first order shift in energy is 0. And you can see from here, let us generalize this idea. You can see that suppose it is x cube. In the next class I will discuss perturbation or perturbing potential in x cube for linear harmonic oscillator. If it is x cube, you can repeat the same argument, and again the first order correction energy is 0. So for any perturbing potential of the order x raised to n with n odd, okay, what you get is the first order correction in energy is always 0. This you can always remember without doing any calculations. If this is an odd power of x, odd power of x, that is x, x cube, x raised to 5, etc. First order correction energy is always 0. We need to calculate the second order correction energy. Okay. So what is this expression for the second order correction energy? Second order correction energy is summation over m, which is not equal to n, m v prime n mod square. In the denominator, the order is reversed, en0 minus em0. This is the second order correction in energy, right? So we need to evaluate this. So what is this quantity, this matrix element m v prime n? If you substitute for v prime, q and d I can take outside, there is a minus sign also, so minus qe m x n. I am going to use the Dirac method of calculation using a dagger and a. So what is this x? Again, root of x cross by 2m omega a dagger plus a, right? So if I substitute this here, m v prime n is equal to minus qe root of x cross by 2m omega. Instead of x I am substituting, so m a dagger plus a n, right? Okay. So what you get? Minus qe root of x cross by 2m omega. There are two terms here. We have m a dagger n. Okay. What is happening when a dagger acts on n? You have root of n plus 1 ket n plus 1. So we have a term like this. Okay, m a dagger n. A dagger acting on n will give you root of n plus 1 into ket n plus 1. So we have the inner product between m and n plus 1. But look at this. It is given that m is not equal to n, right? We have earlier discussed what is the meaning of this one, etc. So m is not equal to n. Suppose it is n, then we know that this is 0. From the previous discussion, why n x n is 0. We know that n and n plus 1, ket vector and ket n plus 1 are, or ket n and ket n plus 1 are mutually orthogonal. So this inner product should be 0. But m is not equal to n. That means m can be n plus 1 also. If m is equal to n plus 1, this inner product can be 1. Okay, so there is a possibility that this inner product is 1. It can be not so. Okay, so that is there. And the second term, when consider this ja vector and operator A acting on n. What happens when operator A acts on n? You go to ket n minus 1 with a coefficient root n. So we have root n. This ja vector m is there. And when A acts on ket n, you have ket n minus 1. Here also, since m is not equal to n, okay, there is a possibility that m can be equal to n minus 1. So this term is non-zero. That means this term you can write as delta m comma n plus 1, a Kronecker delta. This is equal to 1 when m is equal to n plus 1. And similarly, this is delta m n minus 1. So this will be equal to 1 or non-zero only when m is equal to n minus 1. So that is this matrix element m v prime n. But we have m v prime n square here. Okay. So how do we deal with that? So there are many ways of arguing about this one. Let us say, consider this. Let us consider an elaborate way, and then we will find out a shortcut of writing the result. How do we write m v prime n square? Okay, this is m v prime n. How do we take the square of this one? Now this is matrix element can be in general complex. So how do we write m v prime n? This is simply m v prime n into its complex conjugate. What is the complex conjugate? M v prime n star. Now m v prime n star is nothing but n v prime m. Okay. Now we know what is m v prime m. Then what is n v prime m? A term similar to this one. Only thing is that n and m are interchanged. Okay. So this product will contain a term like this and a term like this one with n and m interchanged. So let me first write down the entire term. Maybe in the previous calculations on x square potential and x raised to 4 potential I have made this argument, but let me repeat once again, and then we will find out a shortcut of writing down the result. Okay, so this into this. Okay, so this coefficient will be the same. So this minus, and there will be another minus from a similar coefficient. So plus, then we have q square e square, square of this one, so h cross by 2m omega, right? Then this term will be there from m v prime n. I will write down this term again, root of n plus 1 delta m comma n plus 1 root n delta m comma n minus 1. Instead of inner product, let me write Kronecker delta. So this is one term. Okay. There is a similar term from this matrix element with n and m interchanged. So let me write that term also. Root of m is on the ket vector side. So we have root of m plus 1 delta interchange m and n. Okay. So n comma m plus 1 plus root m delta n comma m minus 1. So this is the entire thing. You can see that there are 4 terms here. If you multiply 2 terms here, 2 terms here, there are 4 terms. But in these 4 terms, all the terms will not be non-zero. For example, you consider different possibilities. You have delta m comma n plus 1 here. Suppose you multiply this with this one. Then here what is it? Delta n comma m plus 1. Remember, the summation is over m. So what is meaning of delta n comma m plus 1? If you n should be equal to m plus 1, which means that m plus 1 should be equal to n, or m should be equal to n minus 1. This means that m is equal to n plus 1. This means that m is equal to n minus 1. If we write in terms of m, because m is the variable here. So if you take the product, this part is non-zero only when m is equal to n plus 1, whereas this part is non-zero only when m is equal to n minus 1. n is equal to m plus 1 is same as m is equal to n minus 1. The two conditions cannot be simultaneously satisfied. So this product will be 0. Now you take this into this. This means m is equal to n plus 1. This means n is equal to m minus 1, which means that if you take 1 to the left side, m is equal to n plus 1. So this condition and this condition are identical. Okay, so what you get, the coefficient is Here the coefficient is m is equal to n plus 1, already coefficient is n plus 1, root n plus 1. Here, when you write this in terms of m, since m is the summation variable here, m condition is n is equal to m minus 1, which means m is equal to n plus 1. So, in the summation, only one term will be non-zero when m is equal to n plus 1. So, you have to put m is equal to n plus 1 here also. Okay, so this Kronecker delta is 1 only when m is equal to n plus 1. So, you have a root of n plus 1 here. So, this into this will be non-zero. The coefficient of this is root n plus 1. The coefficient of this will become root n plus 1. So, we have root n plus 1 into root n plus 1, which is n plus 1. Okay. So, we have q square e square h cross by 2m omega. So, one non-zero term is simply n plus 1. Okay. N plus 1 delta m comma n plus 1. Right? M is equal to n plus 1. That is the result from here. So, this into this term will be 0. This into this term is non-zero. Right. Similarly, if you take this into this, you have m into equal to n minus 1 condition here. Here also, n is equal to m plus 1 means m is equal to n minus 1. So, these two conditions are identical. When you put m is equal to n minus 1, again you have n minus 1 plus 1. So, root 10 will be here. This root 10 into root 10 will be n. So, n into delta m comma n minus 1. This also is nothing but m comma n minus 1. This into this will be 0 because here m is equal to n minus 1. Here the condition is that n is equal to m minus 1, which means m is equal to n plus 1. So, m is equal to n minus 1 and m is equal to n plus 1 cannot be simultaneously satisfied. So, this product will be 0. Okay. So, out of the 4 terms, only 2 terms are non-zero. This type of argument you can repeat. For example, in the next problem, when there are x cube, when there is an x cube potential, you will be essentially having 3 terms here, 3 terms here. So, 9 terms will be there, out of which only 3 will be non-zero. So, now you can easily write down the non-zero terms. Look at this first expression of m v prime n and look at this expression. So, what is the non-zero term? Simply the square of this one. Okay. Finally, it will add up like this exactly. Okay. So, we have evaluated this part, this numerator part, but there is a denominator also. Okay. So, if you substitute the denominator here, let me write. So, this en2 is equal to, there is a denominator here. Summation is over m, but in this summation, only one term will be non-zero. M is equal to n plus 1 here. There are 2 summations, and in the second summation, m is equal to n minus 1 will be non-zero. Okay, so what is the denominator here? In the first term, first summation, since there are 2 terms here, there will be 2 summations. So in the first summation, the denominator will be en0. This is applicable to numerator and denominator. Okay, in the first summation, en0 minus em0. But what is m? M should be equal to n plus 1. So, en plus 1. Okay, in the second case, now we can remove this Kronecker delta because we have removed the summation. In the summation, only one term will be non-zero. In the second summation, m should be equal to n minus 1. So, in the denominator, we have en0 minus en minus 1, 0. We can remove this one. Okay. Kronecker delta is taking care of this summation. In this summation, only one term each is remaining non-zero. So, what is the result here? What do we get? So, en2, the second order correction is q square e square h cross by 2m omega n plus 1 divided by what is En0 minus En plus 1 0. Okay, En plus 1 is the energy level above the nth level, and we know that the separation between adjacent levels is h cross omega for unperturbed harmonic oscillator. So this difference, this has a lower energy, this has a higher energy, so the difference will be minus h cross omega. So this is minus h cross omega plus n divided by En0 minus En minus 1 0. En nth level, En minus 1 is the level below it. So the difference is h cross omega, because En minus 1 is the higher energy state. So En is the higher energy state. En minus 1 is the lower energy state. So this is h cross omega. Okay. I can take h cross omega outside. So when you take this h cross omega outside, this is coming in the denominator. So h cross will cancel. You have an omega square here. So q square e square by 2m omega square. Let me take minus h cross omega outside, because then this term will be positive. This is a higher term. This is a larger term. This is a small term. There is an n plus 1 here. So let me take minus h cross omega outside. So minus h cross omega, there is a minus sign, and h cross is cancelled. Omega into omega will become omega square. So what is remaining here? N plus 1. Okay, and this will become minus. So the term in the curly bracket will be 1. So what is getting? Minus q square e square by 2m omega square. Look at this second order correction in energy. This is same as the exact result that we have obtained in the previous discussion. Okay, the energy values, the Hamiltonian is lowered by exactly by this factor. So here the perturbation theory gives you the exact result. So what is the total energy of the harmonic oscillator? Energy of the unperturbed harmonic oscillator is this, plus the second order correction. The second order correction is negative. Okay. So if these are the energy levels of the unperturbed oscillator with separation h cross omega. Okay. What about the perturbed oscillator? The energy levels are slightly lowered. Okay, but they are again equally spaced, right? The separation remains the same, h cross omega. Energy levels are lowered by a factor. If this is half h cross omega for the unperturbed oscillator, if the ground state energy is half h cross omega, the ground state energy here will be half h cross omega minus this factor, q square e square by 2m omega square. So all the energy levels are reduced by this factor, but the separation between energy levels remains the same, h cross omega, because the angular frequency omega remains the same. So it remains a harmonic oscillator with a lowered energy levels. Separation remains the same. So this is the case with the perturbing potential in X to a linear harmonic oscillator. And this is true for, this is equivalent to, as I told you, this is equivalent to applying a constant force to a linear harmonic oscillator. It can be electric force, it can be gravitational force, any uniform force. That's all. Thank you.